But this is a pretty good place.
Yeah. Was it hard to find or
It was easy to find, but
hard to get
hard,
a room?
hard to get in here. 'Cause
Really?
with the burning of the Palisades, everybody was.
Yeah. Oh, because everyone was scrambling.
Yeah, everybody was, looking for a place to live.
Yeah.
So, are you comfortable there?
I'm comfortable. Are you comfortable?
I am very comfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So where did we end?
Where I think we ended talking. Well, I'm typing up all the. I was gonna put it into software and have it do the transcript for me, and I realized just listening to you, maybe on double the speed, it's easier to just type it all out, like, and hear you do it. But we left off. The video cut when I think we had gotten back to LA and we had gone through your time in LA and we had gone through. I'm forgetting the companies that you worked for. First, you worked for
Procter & Gamble.
Procter & Gamble, and then you worked for, started with the A.
Alberto Culver.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then you started your own firm.
And then what?
Then you started your own firm after Alberto Culver, correct?
More or less, yeah.
More or less.
Yeah. I started my own company a little after that, but trying to remember when.
You don't remember when?
I'm sure. Yeah, we were there for 30 years. So.
Wow. And do you remember the date you started or no?
No, I don't.
You don't remember the date?
But I will.
You will, yeah.
And the company still exists.
Yes.
My son is now running it.
Yeah. And so is that for 30 years or is it 30 years now or is it 30 years from when you retired?
30 years before I retired.
Yeah.
So.
And then to now?
And now.
And when did you retire?
I retired a few years ago.
So not long.
No, it has. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And then, then we had a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And
what about life during the pandemic? During COVID stuff?
I was already retired during
Yeah.
the pandemic, so it
didn't affect you?
didn't affect me at all. Had no difference in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not the same for a lot of us.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, what changed my life was the fire.
Yeah.
That was. We lost our house and we lost a bunch of shit and then went to that place where I saw you last, and that was okay, but
it's not home.
It was not our home.
Mm-hmm.
This is not my home either.
Mm-mm.
So what I'm doing now is I'm preparing to go off to law school.
Wow.
I've decided that this is not nearly enough mental stimulation for me, because nice people and everything, and the food's good, but it's kind of boring.
So where are you going?
I'm going back home, back to my home in Sonora.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the
In Hermosillo?
Yeah, Hermosillo. The Hermosillo. I'm going to law school there.
To learn law or to teach law?
To learn law.
Wow.
To learn Mexican law.
Wow.
I've never, I studied law, but not, but I didn't get it. I don't have a degree in law,
Mm-hmm.
but I did study law in graduate school, and it was interesting. But I decided I would go to a Mexican law school because I have been studying Mexican law, and I'm going to go do that. And it'll take me a couple of years.
And for fun or
for fun?
Mm-hmm.
For fun, because I don't intend to practice it.
Yeah.
I may do something with it, but more than anything, what I want to do is I want to learn how Mexican thinks about law, and I haven't done that. I've been doing American stuff.
And did you think any of this before the fires, or why was life before the fires stimulating and now it's specifically not?
Well, I didn't think about this until now because I was living a regular life.
Mm-hmm.
I was busy enough, and I was and I was working with you, and
Mm-hmm.
and that was just very nice. And then all of a sudden, life changed dramatically because I no longer had a house. We had Andrew, my son, lived next door,
Mm-hmm.
and both of the houses just burned to a crisp.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided not to rebuild. It's just too much work, and would take too long. So we decided.
And do you still own the properties though?
Yeah. So we still own the properties, but
There's nothing on
it would take a whole lot of time before it's ready to be rebuilt,
Mm-hmm.
and then a whole lot of time to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to do that. That was not a way to spend. We didn't want to spend our life doing that.
Yeah.
So we looked for a place. We saw somewhere up in the hills,
Mm-hmm.
which was a pretty boring place as well. No, nothing to do.
Yeah. Isolated.
And then I moved here a few months ago. Well, not a few months ago, several weeks.
Yeah, only a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Moved here a few weeks ago, and it is very nice.
But almost less to do.
Was
No good window to look out of, and the birds, no birds.
Oh, got birds around here.
Some birds, yeah.
Some birds, but we have UCLA across on the other side of my window.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a.
Yeah.
This is not a very exciting place. I mean, the people here are including me, are kind of old.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's what this is. This is an old people's place,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all very nice, and the food's good, but it's pretty boring. Here go some birds.
There you go. Ooh,
We got birds flying all over the place.
that's fun. I think,
So
I think LA has like the most amount of the biggest variety of birds in all of America.
oh, really?
Yeah, in
didn't-
LA, there's like the most different type of birds.
Well, I believe that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't have the slightest idea about that.
Yeah,
Over where we were before,
every day, different type of birds.
the birds were just gorgeous,
Mhm.
and here we got nice birds, but I can't see out the window much.
Yeah.
Other than what we just saw,
Yeah.
and there's plenty of that. And so this is I'm ready to go. So I went to visit my home,
Mm-hmm.
my hometown,
When?
a couple of months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then I thought, this place I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to go back home, and I thought studying Mexican law would be a lot of fun
Mm-hmm.
because I would learn the stuff that I haven't learned before. So that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's my next plan. To
And
do.
when will you take that up?
Well, probably next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to go there to check out the place and maybe buy a house and stuff like that in October of this year when the heat goes
Mhm.
down, and then I'll decide what there is.
And you still have a good amount of family over there, right?
What's that?
A good amount of family
Yeah.
in Hermosillo?
There's nothing but family.
Nothing but family.
Everybody is my family in that place, and it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So in October we're going to go and just spend some time, and that's when it cools down,
Mm-hmm.
and see what life is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be the next big deal.
There's so many different chapters, and even when you think you might be done and something new can.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
Obviously, terrible that fires.
yes,
did
it
that,
was.
though.
I was so happy in that place.
Yeah.
The house was great.
Well, okay. Well, I want to hear about the houses then, because what about them was so amazing?
Well, this is something that we bought the house a long time ago, and then we just basically rebuilt it from the inside.
Wow.
And my wife was a great designer and had great ideas about things. And she died, by the way. My wife died.
Yes.
I don't know if she had died
No, I never met her.
before, when I last saw you. But she died in October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
In my life, because I was happy in that house. I was happy with her.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she dies and the place burns down.
Yeah. And you obviously with death you somehow plan it out in your mind a little bit because it's always there. But with something like the fires, that was completely out of thin air.
Yeah, exactly. Completely unexpected.
Yeah.
And her death was not unexpected because she was ill.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lost her, and she was so incredibly good at. In fact, I was talking about her last when we.
Yeah, either last time or the time before, we did a whole thing about her.
Yeah, and she was a very smart, very wonderful companion. We spent something like 54 years together. And all of them really good, happy.
I just saw that. I hadn't seen a picture of you younger before. It's a good picture.
That is she and I. And we had a great life together.
Mm-hmm.
I miss her a lot. And around here there's nothing but old people, including the women.
Yep.
It's pretty.
And does that make you? What does that make you feel?
To be surrounded by old people, it makes me feel old.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, I've met a couple of very, very intelligent and nice folks, but not too many.
Mm-hmm.
And because most everybody is on the way out, and so it's not very interesting. So that's why when I went back to Hermosillo for a few days just to say hello, I decided this is a good place. It's a good place to live in Hermosillo, and there's lots of housing available. And I'm gonna buy a house down there and just go to school.
Yeah.
Because that was, in fact, before I went to USC, I had been admitted to the law school in Hermosillo, and I decided not to go. I decided to go to regular college in the United States, and that just changed my life, obviously, completely from what it would have been had I gone to law school.
Do you think you would have been a diplomat like your father if you went to law school in Mexico?
No, I don't think so. I was when I went to graduate school, I was flirting with being a diplomat. I went to the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy.
I remember this.
So I was learning the trade.
And then you said, no, I want to go to Puerto Rico. Yeah, I remember that.
That's right. I decided that we decided that we would do something else. part of it because we know that I knew that there would be no money in being a diplomat. And I didn't have any. I couldn't afford to not make money.
And why was that?
Well, because they don't pay you.
There was no money, or there was not the money that you necessarily wanted.
There was hardly any. The salaries were terribly low for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that was not the way I wanted to. I couldn't live the way I wanted to live. So we went off to Puerto Rico, where I was teaching, and I was making enough money. And then I came back and started going, took my life from Procter & Gamble there, and then Gilbert & Clover, and all of that. And that the money was pretty good. And then when we ultimately opened our own shop, we were very successful. And the company is still making money, and it's doing very well. Andrew is a terrific manager, so he's making money for the whole family. So that's pretty good, and I'm now pretty, I'm comfortable. And with this, money is not an issue for me anymore because of that business, and because the business continues. So that was the thing that, and then all of a sudden here I am with a house burnt, and I have to start from scratch, doing stuff from scratch. And it took me a while to figure out that what I wanted to do was study law. Because,
Do you think you want to study law more, or do you want to be back in Mexico more?
both.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be back. I want to be back home in Hermosillo, but I also wanted to be doing something that would challenge me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will challenge me big time. Because
And do you think you'll play a good amount of music in Mexico as well?
do what?
Play a good amount of music as well?
Yeah. Yeah, my music is a normal thing.
It's constant, yeah.
Yeah, and I have one guitar there that I inherited from a cousin who died, and that was his guitar. So I got the guitar after his death, and it's a beautiful guitar. So
Is it one of these?
yeah, one of those. The one on this.
On this side.
Yeah, on this side.
And do you mostly play traditional strings?
Yeah, Mexican stuff.
Is that
Yes, that book has got
Yeah, I remember that book.
173 songs in it. So that's what I'm using. That's my.
Mm-hmm. And you got some songs over there too.
How's that?
You got a song right there too.
Yep, those are copies of
your old books.
Of that book.
Of that book.
Yeah, because it's hard. It doesn't stay on the.
Oh, that's smart.
On the music stack. So the ones I like best are, I've copied some of them, most of them, and I have a few more that I need to copy, but that's what I'm playing. And I have a guitar chair. I've never had a guitar chair in my life, and I know how it is such a good thing to do.
To sit down while you play?
Yeah.
On a chair with it.
Makes sense to be sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sitting here, for example, my back would get all screwed up, and I would be very uncomfortable. And so same as sitting there.
Now, when you play guitar, how long will you play guitar for? Like, will you sit down and play all day, or will you play?
No, I sit down and play for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So my objective is an hour a day, which I haven't done quite enough, but I'm doing enough that my fingers
Or back now, actually.
They're not back completely, but I'm doing I'm enjoying it.
Was there a time in your life where you weren't playing any music?
No.
Never.
I started playing, the guitar I started playing when I was 12 or so. And I've been playing, and I was playing trumpet before that. So I've enjoyed music. I'm kind of dissatisfied that I gave up my trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a very sociable
No, I think
instrument. It's
guitar is the best instrument in the world.
yeah, and the guitar was great, and I still play it. And my daughter plays guitar. She's in college right now, and she's learning how to play the guitar, and she's doing really well, and singing and all that kind of stuff. And going to school and studying languages. So she's happy and she's doing well, and I'm enjoying what she's doing as well. So
Your granddaughter.
my granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the granddaughter, not my daughter.
I knew what you were saying.
My daughter is doing something else.
But she is not in Hermosillo, is she? She lives in Mexico. She's sometimes in Mexico, correct? But she's not in Hermosillo.
No, she lived all her life up until she went to LA to go to high school. She lived in a place called San Miguel de Allende, which is right in the center of Mexico, and it's a beautiful place. A lot of crime there, but beautiful.
And did you live there, or you didn't live there?
Yes, we did.
You did.
I lived there for a while. We had a house there, and enjoyed living there. My daughter still lives there, and she's got a business going there, and her husband also. Yeah, they're very happy there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're going. They live in two places. They live there, and then they live in Yucatan, which is way south.
Yeah, down south.
And they bought a house in Yucatan, and they spent some time.
That place is beautiful too, correct? Like,
Yes, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Lots of plants.
I know about the cenotes.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of cenotes
Mhm.
and things like that. So it's a very interesting and culturally very interesting place.
Mm-hmm.
Music, there's lots of music there.
There's lots of Mayan ruins as well.
Yes, everywhere you go, you can have a pyramid in your backyard.
Yeah.
And so I don't think she's got a pyramid in her backyard there, but it's close.
And then you bought in the Palisades, you had the house, and when did you buy the house next door to it?
We bought it
After.
30 years ago, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And we turned it into an office for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew was living somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then not too long after, he moved over there to the house next door, and got married, and he and his wife lived there for a long time. And they burned down.
Yeah.
So now they live in that house that they're renting.
Did they stay in the house in the hills?
They're still there, yeah. They're still there. I don't think, well, I know they're not going to stay there because that house is going to be sold at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to be very happy there. They do a lot of travel. They do a lot of stuff that's valuable. And Andrew goes to work
Yeah.
at the agency twice a week. The place is we have everybody there twice a week, and then everybody works from home the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because of the pandemic and all of that. So, but
It works.
Yeah, he's figured out a way to make it work.
That's good.
and he's been very, very successful. Has even with Trump's tariffs and all that shit, he's been able to keep that going. That's one of our clients is an automobile company, and it's our oldest client.
Honda?
Yeah, exactly. And we're expecting that Honda will at one point decide not to sell cars in Mexico anymore because of Trump's crap. So we're not happy with the politics, obviously. But there he is.
And you'll have to, yeah.
And the politics in Mexico is great.
Are they?
Yeah, we've got a great president. We had one extraordinarily good president who just changed things, got rid of of most of the corruption, a lot of the corruption, and when his term was over, we elected a woman president, and she is sensational. She's very, very good, and she fights Trump all the time and wins a lot because she's very smart and so that's what Mexico is up to, doing really well.
Were politics ever? Did you ever have to deal with politics in your company, or because now Andrew's dealing with it? But did you ever have to?
No, very, very little. Very little. We had just clients who did business, like Honda and other clients, and we did very well with the clients that we had. And we did, we did that for over 35 years, and the company's still going. So that was very, very cool.
And so you're when for those 35 years you're working and you're playing music and you're living with Norma, and what else are you maybe doing?
That's about it.
That's about it.
Traveling.
Mostly for work or for both?
Mostly for work. We were traveling a lot for work. We opened a company in Chicago, and we had an agency in New York, and that was a lot of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, I love New York and I love Chicago. I mean, I love to travel. So we did that, and then so all of a sudden when I retired, I wasn't traveling anymore, and I kind of missed that. So that's where then I met you, and we started talking about the past, and that's been very interesting. And as a matter of fact, there's a library here, and it's a great little library.
That's
I went
cool.
in there and I found a book that is helping me in my project with you. It's the biography of what's his name, the guy that wrote the book on. What is the name of the book?
I don't know.
Well, it's a biography of a Colombian writer.
Okay.
And he takes the book from when he was born and wrote 3 volumes of his story. And I'm on the first volume.
Nice.
And it's a terrific book. And he is a wonderful writer. And because of that book, I am noticing that there's a lot more to tell in my life.
I agree.
Than what I'm doing now. So I'm reading that book, and then I say, hey, yeah, there's a lot more here. And he had a similar early childhood as mine. He was very impoverished. I was never impoverished when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But he was, and he grew out of it, of course, and he became a Nobel Prize winning author.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy who wrote 100 Years of Solitude and other incredible books. He is just a fine, fine writer. And his biography is wonderful. And he starts telling it when he was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is hard. Yeah. What memories do you have when you were a baby?
yeah, in his case, well, I mean, he learned about his own life, from his mother.
Exactly. What would you say your first real memory is?
My first real memory was when I was about maybe 3.
What was it?
It was living I told you about Agua Prieta,
Mm-hmm.
which was a very dusty, ugly place where my father was a druggist.
Mm-hmm.
He was running a drugstore, and we were okay. And it was during the Second World War,
Mm-hmm.
and we lived the Second World War a while there, and it was right on the border. So I was going back and forth across the border. I had relatives on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mostly on the American side, had more relatives there than in the Mexican side. So we were there for a good chunk of time, and I left there when I was about maybe 4 or 5, 6, and that's when my life really started. I noticed what I was up to. So it was a good place to have grown up because it was ugly, it was dusty. I don't know what the fuck we were doing there. Why my father chose that as a place to land. Well, I do know, mostly because the family had property in that area, but he didn't. But that was we had lots of relatives on the American side.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was
And what was the name of that place again?
Agua Prieta.
Agua.
Agua as water.
Yeah, water.
Prieta means dirty.
Learning.
Dirty.
Dirty.
Water.
Dirty water.
Yeah. That
Wow.
was Prieta means black, but it was black water.
Water.
That's what they had there.
Wow.
And I don't know, just the name was and it was a pretty dismal place.
And more east of Tijuana.
Oh yeah,
Obviously.
yeah, right.
But still on the California border, not on the New Mexico. Or was it on the? It was. Oh no, this one was on the New Mexico border.
On
Wasn't
the
it?
Sonora border.
But with the American, what state was it close to on the American side?
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona was on the American side,
Uh-huh.
and Sonora was on
The
the Mexican side.
Yeah.
And Sonora was a desert,
Yeah.
and still is.
Mm-hmm.
Great desert, but it's a desert. And so that we were there for a pretty long time. My father was there then.
And it was when you were living there. It was your father, your mother, and your brother.
It was just about everybody. We were all of us were born. I was born in Hermosillo, but my mother went to Hermosillo, so I would be born there because there was a clinic and there was a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So most everybody was born either in Hermosillo or.
And how far away is that from Agua Prieta?
Agua Prieta? Not very far.
Mm-hmm.
A few hours travel, a couple of hours travel. Not a faraway place, but it was a ugly, terrible place, and I hated it. Even then, I knew it was ugly when I was a small kid.
Have you been back there?
Huh?
Have you been back?
Yes, I have.
And it still holds to the same.
It still holds it. It's still ugly. Now the trees are all full of plastic bags. You know, the wind and all
Mhm.
of that kind of stuff. So
Would you go from a place that's called Blackwater
Tijuana,
not Hermosillo, to Tijuana?
Tijuana. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He moved his business from there. He opened a drugstore in Tijuana,
Tijuana.
and then
Was Tijuana, because now Tijuana is a bigger city.
it's a very big city and a very
But when-
prosperous city.
Yeah, but when you were there, was it still pretty small?
It was very, very small.
And would that have been in the 50s or the 60s?
50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved there in the 50s, and it was a small place. And my father had a drugstore there, and
Mm-hmm.
he had a partner who caused it to go bankrupt.
Can we hear this story?
Have I told you this?
No.
I didn't know. Well, what happened was that he made a partner out of the wife of one of my mother's uncles,
Mm-hmm.
a relative, and he was killed. He was an attorney and a judge, and he was assassinated. So his family lived with us for a while, and then when he opened his drugstore in Tijuana, he made the wife of this now dead judge a partner. And she, whatever it is she did, she caused it to go bankrupt. So he sold the drugstore, which is very successful, but not for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to find a job. Somehow, finally, he found a job with the Mexican government.
Yeah.
That's when he
So
became.
that's how you became a diplomat.
Yeah, because he had to get a job. And even so, as I was telling you, the diplomats in Mexico don't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was a diplomat in Mexico and living a hand-to-mouth existence. He had to take on translations and other jobs just to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But then ultimately he became a very successful
Yeah.
diplomat.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And was your mother working or no?
No, she had.
But you said you didn't grow up impoverished. So he was because he was working a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was not poverty, but it was. You know,
Because he was working so much, you weren't in poverty.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't make all that much money.
So because he was working a lot, did you not see him a lot, or did you
Yeah.
still see him a lot?
We saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Very, very present.
he was present all the time. So
Mhm.
I had a regular father and mother
Exactly.
existence, and there were 6 of us, and that was a lot of people that he had to feed.
Yeah. There are 6 children.
6 children. Yeah. I was the third of 6.
And you have an older brother. Or no, the good guitar player is your younger brother or an older brother?
Older
That's
brother,
what I thought.
who is now dead.
Yes.
He died.
Sorry.
He died fairly recently. He was a great guy, great friend of mine. He and I were about the same age,
Yeah.
so we grew up together. And
What were your other age gaps between your siblings?
the
Well,
age.
What were the age gaps? What were the age of your other siblings?
So between my older sister, the oldest, and my brother and I were very few years. There was we were a few years separate.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother waited a couple of years, and then she had a daughter, and then twins.
Mm.
So that was the 6 of us. And so there was, then the difference between my daughter, my sister, and me is pretty big. she's the one that lives in San Miguel de Allende, and she, you know, she was a long distance from me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember how long, but it was
More than 10 years or less than 10 years?
less than 10 years. Yeah. So we well, that's so and then the last two were twins.
Twins.
And my twins, the twin sister is living in Tijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and the twin brother is living in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's in advertising and is now working as trying to arrange the sales of scripts.
Mm-hmm.
He's working in sort of a line with the movie business.
That's cool.
So he's doing okay as well. He's kind of, and he married a very strange woman who was whose life was about getting jobs in Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and she never could. But that's what she wanted my brother to give her.
Mm-hmm.
Is jobs, but no jobs.
Yeah.
So they had a few, three or four kids, and one of the kids who was in our family was the one that owned that guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So he was born in Mexico, but they took him to LA when he was very small.
Mm-hmm.
And then he became a writer, and then had an extraordinary success writing movies and TV series, and just made lots and lots of money. And he wrote a whole bunch of very successful movies, and recently died because of drinking.
That's so sad. We've talked about him,
Yeah,
but he was in a coma the last time we spoke about him.
yeah, that's right. He was in a coma and he died.
He passed away. I'm sorry.
He died about that at that time. So it's very recent,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how that guitar came to me, because it was just sitting there. Nobody wanted it, so, and it's a very nice. It's a fine guitar.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is very, and the sound is terrific.
Yeah.
So that was my. He and I were very good friends as well.
Is he the last name Orci as well?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. He's my brother. My brother's.
Your brother's son.
kid. And he was very successful, except he picked up the
The unhealthy habit.
a real unhealthy habit, yeah, and died from it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's too bad. But he gave up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his idea was that he had already done everything he was going to do, and he could go ahead and die, and he did. So that was the story there. But unfortunately, had he survived, he would have been. His success would have continued,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't.
You never felt like you were finished at all.
What was that?
You've never felt like you're finished at all, have you?
No,
No.
not at all. I still want to go to law school
Mm-hmm.
and do.
I love that. So cool.
And live a stimulating life.
Exactly.
And going back to Hermosillo was a really good idea, because I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of wonderful family there. We had a reunion there recently where I was not invited, because I had been away from them. So they had a reunion without me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I found out about that. I said, "What the fuck?
That's not fair.
Why did you invite me?" And then they said, "Well, you never respond,
Mm-hmm.
so we did it without you." Oh, okay.
Well, now you won't miss one again.
So now we're having another reunion
Good.
where I am now. I'm trying to I'm making it happen because the family likes me. It's not, I don't have a problem with the family, except I never answered their invitations.
Yeah.
Now I'm inviting them, and we're all going to Hermosillo, and all my kids are going,
Good.
and we're going to have a really interesting time. And that's part of my return to Hermosillo.
Mhm.
Will be that, and I will be joining the law school at that time. So it'll be in October
Of 2025.
of next year.
Of 2026. So that'd be in 6 months. Or is it in a year and 6 months?
It'll be
This October.
This October, yeah. So that'll be my return.
And how long you're planning on staying?
Yeah, I will be living there if I can manage the heat.
Yep.
And I always like the heat, so
Yeah.
it's not going to be a problem.
You'll fit in fine.
Yeah.
How long did you live in Hermosillo when you were born?
Not very long.
Not very long.
I was just born there, and
But then your family was always there.
my family was always there, and I returned a lot. I was going there twice a year and spending.
Where were you living when there was the park across the street, and they would play guitar?
That was
drink.
in Tijuana.
That was in Tijuana.
That was Tijuana. Yeah. They had right across the park.
Mm-hmm.
That we were told it was dangerous
Yeah.
because there were a lot of people drinking beer there.
Yeah.
And there were.
I like this story.
Yeah, that is. And we never went across the street.
Yeah.
Never. We stayed.
But yeah, were you already musically inclined at that point, or were you?
Yeah.
You were.
I was. Yeah.
So you weren't necessarily going across the street, but you could hear it.
I could hear the singing, and and the recordings.
And is that what you like that, obviously?
I like that a lot. Yeah, I like the music. It's great. So I was born with that in my ear,
Mm-hmm.
almost. So it was kind of fun. Excuse me. It was a lot of fun living in Tijuana.
Mm-hmm. And then after Tijuana is when you moved to San Diego.
San Diego, right? Yeah, and then after San Diego was Los Angeles, and I think I was born when I moved to Los Angeles, because I went to a high school where I was like accepted big time. They really took to me, and I took to them, and I got great grades and just had a wonderful time in John Marshall High School.
I like that line that you were born in LA.
Yeah.
Because your first memory may be in Agua Prieta with the
Exactly.
with the dustiness and stuff, but
Yeah.
you feel like you came into conscience when you came to.
When I got to LA.
And how old were you?
Well, I was.
Coming into high school or coming into your third year of high school?
I came into my second year of high school.
So you were 14, 15.
Yeah, exactly.
And when were you? What was the year you were born?
I was 42.
1942.
Yeah. So, and I made lots of friends, and before it was hard for me to be independent because I had an older brother who was always there before me. Everything he did
Mm-hmm.
and that I wanted to do, he had already done.
Yeah.
So it was hard. for me. But then when I got John Marshall, I was independent. I was living my own life, and I liked my brother a lot, but I was living my own life then, and that's why the feeling of having been born, because before that I was following after my brother's footsteps because he was doing all the things I would want to do, and that, and I continued doing a lot of the same stuff. Like he went to LA City College, a junior college, and I went there as well.
Mm-hmm.
He studied he studied journalism. I studied journalism. So I still following his footsteps, but he was no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
He was not.
Did he not go to John Marshall?
No, he did not.
Where did he go?
I don't know where he went, but he was almost out of high school.
He was basically
Yeah, he was finishing with high school when
either almost was he? So is he 2 years older than you?
3.
Oh, he's 3 years. Okay, yeah. So he was done. He was done with high
He
school.
was
If you
done.
came in as a sophomore, yeah.
Yeah,
He must have gone straight to LACC.
yeah, he went to LACC, and then he went off to Georgetown University after LACC, and had a great academic career at Princeton. And
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't go to Princeton, and I didn't go live in Washington like he did. He was an adventurous guy.
Mm-hmm. You weren't either. You weren't not an adventurous guy.
Oh, I was pretty adventurous.
You were pretty adventurous.
Well, I was doing new stuff. Once he and I separated, I was doing new stuff for me, and I was not following in anybody's footsteps.
It's funny. That's cool.
And it was great fun. I was really good at journalism, where he had been also really good at journalism. But I was not as successful as he was because he spent a lot more time at it, and I was doing political science, which is what I liked to do much more so than the journalism. But
What it also seems like what you like to do is be with your wife as well, because you guys met each other at such.
I met her.
She was 19 maybe, and you were 22, I think.
I was
21 maybe.
21. Yeah.
That's a long time to be, because I don't know what his life was like, but he might have been more focused on journalism when you were more focused on your soon-to-be wife.
Well, I met her. Yeah, I met her when I was going into USC.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going into college.
Yeah.
So and going to USC is very different from going to Georgetown. I mean, Georgetown University in Washington was a different kind of institution. And SC was great. I loved the place, and they responded pretty well to me. I made friends with the faculty and all of that kind of stuff. So it was nothing but success from then on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I had a good time with life by that time, and I had a good life when my brother was around, but he was there first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in Tijuana, he had lots of friends, and I didn't, because I had to hang out with him and his friends who didn't particularly like me because I was a kid, and they were serious older guys. But I never made friends with any of his friends. So I didn't have friends of my own, except very few. So that was the difficulty with my part of my growing up, is having a brother who was sensational. He was a sensational guy. Everybody loved him. He was very successful with girls. And every time I had a girlfriend, he took her away. So that was not nice.
No, it's not funny now.
Huh?
It's not. I mean, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then.
Not at all. Not at all. Jesus Christ, I couldn't. couldn't have a girlfriend because he would take her.
Really?
He would take
When
her.
you were in Tijuana in San Diego,
Yeah.
and then once you got to LA, it was like you could go live your life.
I started living my life then. And yeah, I could still follow him. You know,
It's funny though.
but I didn't. I wasn't living his life. So I thought John Marshall High School was a great place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I studied Latin,
Mm-hmm.
and that was where the intelligent kids, all the
Yeah.
Jewish kids, were in that. And we had a great time. So that's my life up until then. But so now we are catching up to my life here. You know, and
But before your wife and then your brother and then your house burns down, were there any other big curveballs in your life and big things that happened throughout, or
it's just my retirement from the business.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But before that, it was pretty.
It was very, very, very calm and
rudimentary. Yeah.
Yeah, I was busy and I had an
Mhm.
exciting life and I did a lot of exciting things.
Exactly.
A lot of pioneering.
No big grief and no big changes, though.
No big changes. So it wasn't until the house burned down
Mhm.
that life again changed dramatically. And my brother was. I had another brother, my younger brother, who took over the business. And I didn't think he ever would. So I was about to sell it.
He took over your business.
Yeah.
Before Andrew.
Andrew, that was Andrew.
Oh, that was Andrew. Who took over the business?
Andrew took over the business.
Yes. And you didn't think he ever was going to, yeah.
Yeah, and I never thought he would because he had decided not to. He didn't want to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
He must have had the same kinds of thoughts I had about following in somebody's footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I retired, I told him I was going to sell the business, and he said, "Don't sell it. Let me run it." And I said, "Okay, you run it." And I didn't think he would make a go of it because he was totally different from me. He was a different kind of a manager, a different kind of an employee, and I would have fired him had I been a strong enough manager, because he never followed my lead. So he did everything different from me, everything. And there he is now doing some of the same things,
Mm-hmm.
but
Maybe he was still in his own way.
his own way. Like, he doesn't run the agency. He has other people run the
Mm-hmm.
agency.
You were saying this.
And I ran the agency. I mean, I was the owner, the manager, and I told everybody
What to do every day.
what to do and helped everybody do what
Mhm.
they were doing. And I was the head trainer.
Wow.
I had people arriving at 8:30 every morning,
Wow.
and we'd have a half hour of training every day. And that made my agency the best trained bunch of people in the business. I mean, and he didn't do that.
Mhm.
He didn't want to get there at 8:30. That was not his thing. So he did what he had to do, and he did it very well. I was very surprised.
Did because you never did fire him, but did it ever cause any turmoil in your guys' personal relationship, or no?
No.
No. He was always living right next door, and
Yeah, we were always friends.
yeah.
We got along.
Yeah.
He was married he married his wife.
Mm-hmm.
She lived next door. And
Yeah.
She was also friendly, and and we didn't know each other very well. I hardly ever saw her. But there they were, and there we were, and until the houses burned down, and then we moved into a place together. So, and Andrew was the one who arranged for this because he thought I was getting bored out of my skull living with him in that house. No, and it was right because there was nothing to do.
And it's so high up in the hills. It's so hard to get out of there. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I should have bought one. And I could have bought a car.
Well, you should come visit me at UCLA whenever you want.
Thank you.
And we could walk around, and we could do.
Well, I was teaching at UCLA for a long time, so I know the place.
Isn't the campus is just beautiful?
And I like the campus is great. Yeah. And I was kind of sorry I didn't go there instead of USC.
Did you ever think about it?
No, I just thought of going to USC and I graduated, so it was not relevant to think about going somewhere else up until now. Because one of the things that people have done here is they've gone to law school in their older age, law school at UCLA, and graduated and did
It was very, very good law school.
very successful, yeah. So, when I started talking about law school, people said, well, go to UCLA. And I said, no, I want to go to a Mexican law school.
I think it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful new chapter.
It is a great new chapter. It's going to be a very nice, a very exciting chapter for me. Because when I did study law, I didn't like it. I didn't like law at all. And went to graduate school.
And you didn't like it? You used power through it?
Yeah, I just passed my grades. And I was successful at it, but not liking it. But I intend to like Mexican law, and then we'll see. International law was just during cases. No? This is what happened back then. And it was history, more history of law. Whereas in the Hermosillo, where I'll be going, it's what's going on right now. It is current law. And I will be.
And specifically right now, it's better to be learning it from an outside perspective than an American perspective, because
that'll be a big change.
We've got it all messed up too.
Yeah, well, the U.S. is going through a big issue, big problems right now with Mr. Trump.
Do you have any thoughts on this is more future, do you have any thoughts on the implications of any of it? Of what America will look like, or no? Do you think about that?
I do think about that a lot, and I worry that we may not be able to recover from Trump. And then sometimes I think, we're going to get rid of the son of a bitch. He won't be reelected. Because the thing that he's doing, he's changing the way the country runs, the way the country performs.
And what it's made up of, and
So if he goes for a third term and succeeds, I think that will then cause the big changes that he wants to make. He wants to change the way the country operates, and that's going to be a different country. So by then I'll be a Mexican attorney living in Mexico.
Exactly. And what have your views on America been throughout your entire life?
I've always liked it. I've always thought that American history was wonderful, and I thought that the way America grew up, throughout my life, has been up until Trump was exactly right. With all kinds of with all of the Constitution and the constitutional principles
Mm-hmm.
that we all learned about. That I thought it was just fine.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't need to change it. Then comes this guy who says we're going to change things, and he starts doing it, and he's continuing to do it. But you may have a lot of thoughts about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the school right now,
Yeah.
and you're having a totally different experience than my experience
Mm-hmm.
of that. I mean, at UCLA itself, I don't know how it's done, but he's attacking all our institutions, including the universities.
And he's heavily attacking immigrants as well, which is having its implications at UCLA because there's a lot of immigrants here who go to school here.
Yeah.
And, yeah, are getting their visas revoked and
Yeah,
without
exactly.
even knowing about it.
Exactly. Well, he's also changing the America's.
Education, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's dislike. It's liking of the world. Now we dislike the world.
Mm-hmm.
The world is bad.
And the world dislikes us.
Yes, because we're doing stuff that's very dislikable.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The only thing I would say is the Constitution that we've learned about, that everyone knows, has almost allowed Trump to do what he's doing today.
Yes.
Like, meaning that, like, yes, there was nothing that needed to be changed when you were growing up. I agree. I don't know if there was, but now we see that maybe something needed to be changed, because if we did change it, we would never be in this position that we are.
Yes, exactly.
Because Trump has, from the very beginning, I was like, 2016, I was 12, 13 years old when Trump first came into like our minds.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking like, well, he's really smart and he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play this game of politics, whatever it is, and he's done it to the biggest possible.
Yeah, he was playing the game,
and he did it,
and winning.
And now he's winning, and hopefully he doesn't win.
And he's being followed.
Yep.
By a lot of people. I mean,
yeah, half of the country. That's what that means.
Exactly.
Which is just crazy.
I thought Americans were a lot more intelligent than that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the country was smarter,
Mm-hmm.
and it was. But then all of a sudden, everybody's a right winger. It's really, really, really. So I'm not at all happy about this, which is one of the reasons that I'm wanting to do the legal thing in Mexico, so that I can have a place in Mexico for me that feels comfortable, and that I feel that I'm doing what I need to be doing, even though my age is already catching up with me, but I want to do something worthy. So anyway, yeah, the country has changed tremendously from what I studied. I studied the same stuff you did.
Yeah.
But I'm a lot older than you as it changes. No?
And yeah, maybe the fact that it hasn't necessarily changed, but its implications on the way that it works within our now, like with your society and now my society, is completely different.
Yes.
The way that the Constitution and that these things that we created as staples of America have completely different functions now.
Yeah, well, the Constitution used to be ironclad.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's changeable. You can change it if you want to, if you know how to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, son of a bitch, has known how to play the game, and I don't see how he got away with it. He's gotten away with it, but there he is. There he is.
But with your business, with your time specifically in LA, you must have known people that give off a similar, like, that aura of like, oh, he's playing this game. He doesn't necessarily care about the implications of his actions.
I did not.
Never.
I never saw that. I did not see it coming. I didn't see the business guys, the billionaires. Yeah.
But now it's all obvious.
Yes.
Like what was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. It was happening even then. Even a whole bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
Things were changing, and now they've changed. Now that, and one of the things that's different is the capture of the government by the people with money. It is now about money, and it never was about money up until recently. But it was, you know. We just didn't know.
But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. We didn't know we were going in that direction. Because we kind of liked what it was.
One of the biggest things too is the technology and the internet that I think. What are your experiences with it?
I thought the
technology
was just good stuff that was making life easier. I never thought it was changing the way the world worked.
And now do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it changes because, you know, things are different because we have different technology. The technology is incredible, and it's going to get even more interesting as time goes by.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not happy with that. Whereas Mexico has changed dramatically, but in a direction that I think is exactly right. It's going where it needs to be going. And part of it was by not following the lead of the United States. So like right now having a woman president who is so successful and who is pretty much loved by everybody except for the extreme right wing, which is the same extreme right wing that you have here, except that in Mexico it's very small and it's not nearly as successful as the billionaires that run the American system. So you've got a different thing going that has separated political power from economic power. And here, the political power and the economic power are together, and economic power wins. So that is a big change. And you know, I've studied a lot of government, but I've studied the old, government that the United States created, and that
I can't understand what you're saying.
So since it's Passover time, we've got a lot of kids here who are visiting their old parents or old grandparents. So things are different. That's one of the differences that are even here you can feel it, because now when we go to lunch, the place is full and there's no place. You have to wait for lunch because there's a lot of people here that not that they live here, but that their children are here visiting, children and grandchildren.
And the only reason they're here is because maybe
the parents are here.
Yeah.
They got to visit the parents.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting the way that has changed this place. People are very surprised. I'm not so surprised because I just moved here. But people are very surprised that the place all of a sudden is full.
But yeah, what it has me thinking about is just the way in the politics and all that, but the fact that this change happens in our lives and in society and in the building, but we can't see it until it happens.
Yeah, until it's all. Until
But
it's finished.
there is signs though.
Yeah.
Like for example, like your house burning down is a result of the California and the government's like mitigation of wildfires throughout
Yeah.
all of society or throughout the origins of California. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we could have predicted that fire coming and do anything about it. Just like Trump's presidency is only the implications of the government system that we created, but now there's nothing we could do about it in
Yep.
the past, right?
Yeah. And also the death of the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had a young woman fighting Trump.
Yeah.
And people were not, this country was not ready for a woman being president.
But it's interesting that it twice, right? With Hillary, we tried, or the Democrats tried,
Yeah.
and failed.
Yeah.
And then they succeeded with a white male,
Yeah.
and then they tried to double down on their first attempt and go with a African American woman, and yeah, they weren't. I guess you're right. Society wasn't ready.
And America is anti-woman and anti-black.
Yeah.
This is
From its core.
Yep, exactly.
And would you say? I mean, obviously, racism is more prevalent in America than Mexico.
Yeah.
Like most likely of 100%. But what about sexism?
That's a surprise. Because sexism is much stronger in Mexico than it is here.
Right.
But all of a sudden now we have a Mexican president, a woman president,
Mm-hmm.
and she's being very successful.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason is because the right wing has, whereas the Democrats who died here,
The right wing is down there.
the right wing died here. Well, so that's the problem. That's what worked in Mexico is the death of the right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Right wing is, and it wasn't because of one guy who was a brilliant president. It's because the country was ready for it. Because we've been living with horrible corruption forever. I mean, this is not new. And all of a sudden, this guy comes in and says, corruption. We have to end corruption, and everything will be better if we just end corruption. So he went and did it, and yes, everything got better, including the woman president.
Yeah. Which no one could have seen that change coming.
No,
But it was a good change.
that's right, and nobody could have seen it coming. Absolutely right. And once we saw it happen already, and then we're seeing her being successful. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, what is that doing to the narratives which have existed in Mexico for a long time? Gender narratives and race narratives and
My
systems
concern
of power.
is that it's going to be hard to sustain,
Mm-hmm.
because I can see the right wing coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not coming back right now because people are really dumb. The right wing is really stupid. We've got a stupid right wing here, and they don't know how to run things. They don't know how to do anything, so they don't. And so at some point, there's going to be somebody that does what the left wing did and start being intelligent about running things. How do you run a country?
Mm-hmm.
And since they were all only interested in corruption, the right wing was only interested in corruption, then they couldn't run things because they ran out of money.
Mm-hmm.
No. And that's what the president said, the left-wing president said. If we just get rid of corruption, we're going to have plenty of money for everything.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, he takes over, cuts,
And that's what happens.
and that's exactly what happens.
Mhm.
We have lots of money for everything. Lots of money for old people, lots of money for young people, lots of money for universities, lots of money for everything that we need to do, because the left wing is not wasting it on corruption.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to be sustainable. I don't think it will be sustainable. And we're in our second honest president, and I don't see the replacement at all yet. But I don't think it'll be a left winger. It'll be a right winger. Because people are also tired of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say something about like the cyclical nature of just life.
Yep.
Because sometimes it's going really good, and then sometimes you get sick of it going good, so you want to do something, and that goes back to you don't know how it's going to change, and it may change for the worse, and it may change for the better.
Yep.
And that's that cycle.
And I think the cycle is very clear here.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that we're in a good part of the cycle. But if you look towards the future and say, yeah, who is going to be running things, 3 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Hard to see the left wing doing it.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's so not sustainable in Mexico right now?
Because why is it not sustainable?
Why in the next 3 years do you not believe that it will be the left wing?
Well, the left wing will continue to be successful, but then the right wing will start taking over because first of all, they've learned how to behave.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not working for them right now.
Yeah, exactly. The left wing is beginning to get smart, and once it gets really smart, they start running things. Well, because the problem that the right wing made or created was that people were not enjoying life. Their government was stealing every last penny of money that was available. They were just stealing it, and you can't run a country that way because you have to actually invest in things and do the right things that the left wing figured out. And as soon as the right wing figures that out, it starts creating and contributing to people's happiness, things will change dramatically again. And that's what I think is going to happen. I haven't seen evidence of it yet, but it's there. I mean, just like you say, people don't know what's going to happen until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm seeing what people generally wouldn't see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
It's a weird. It's like it's a paradox in the sense that you know that anything can happen, but you can still. Therefore, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look for the signs of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
still can.
And I'm seeing the signs of the right wing becoming successful again.
And therefore, what do you think is happening to the left wing in America right now? Seeing that the right wing, it's a reversal of Mexico in a sense.
Yes, it is. What I'm seeing is that the left wing in America hasn't learned yet.
Hmm.
They have no idea how to respond.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
But that's super interesting.
yeah. And you could see it with Biden, no?
Mm-hmm.
The Biden thing, what he himself caused by staying in power too long.
Mm-hmm.
He made it impossible for the left wing to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes the right wing.
Mm-hmm.
And they are being very successful. And they're being successful in a way that's going to make it very difficult to get rid of them. but then that's how it happened.